windows of the office. And our security vision of the incident does show a man appearing to spit on the glass, writing this awful message and also drawing a large X over a picture of King Charles. Now, Anthony Roberts has said that no one should have to see this sort of terrible vandalism at a location very close to a Jewish nursing home. This anti-Semitism was only compounded by the statements and chants that came from the Glastonbury Music Festival in the UK over the weekend, with rap duo Bobby Villain on stage chanting death to the IDF. The IDF, of course, being the Israeli Defence Force. Naturally, the Israeli embassy in the UK said it was deeply disturbed by the comments, and UK police are investigating. Meanwhile, there's this possibility of a ceasefire in Gaza if the US President Donald Trump gets his way. It's been a little while since we've caught up with Alex Ryvchin, who I respect and have certainly supported throughout this anti-Semitism crisis. He's the co-chief executive officer of the Executive Council of Australian Jewry. He's on the line with me now. Alex, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mark.
Well, mate, there's a fair bit for us to discuss this morning. I mean, we're obviously hoping that there will be some sort of deal done around Gaza. We'll wait and see what happens there with President Trump. But yet again, you and I are talking about another anti-Semitic act of vandalism, this time against an office of a state MP. It's just simply not on.
Yeah, look, it's shocking. And I think many of us had hoped that this sort of vandalism would end with the federal election. During the election campaign, the vandalism of political offices, the defacing of posters with anti-Semitic graffiti reached heights that we've never seen before in this country. But this is all part of a larger movement that's been bubbling along for months and months now, and it shows no sign of abating. And you look at what's happening abroad when you had horrific terrorist attacks, the shooting of 2 young people outside a Jewish community event in Washington, D.C. by someone chanting Free Palestine. You had someone setting people alight, including an 88-year-old woman who suffered severe burns in Boulder, Colorado, again by someone shouting Free, Free Palestine. So it's no wonder that this is continuing.
And it proves, Alex, I mean, that there's some people out there at the moment who are pointing to the Dural caravan saying, oh, well, that was just a hoax, so that means that all of this anti-Semitism and the crisis is non-existent. That's garbage. You and I know that. Most people know that. And this example over the weekend at Anthony Roberts' office just proves there are some within our society who cannot bring themselves to live in peace, which is what we want in Australia and in Israel. So anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic graffiti is still a very real thing.
It's real, and it's the experience of the Jewish community on a daily basis. And I speak to members of my community up and down this country, particularly school kids who are suffering horrific things. We just saw at a school in South Sydney, a student thought it appropriate to hold up a jersey with Adolf Hitler on it. The sort of abuse and harassment and intimidation that students at university campuses are facing every day. It's happening in workplaces and it's happening in our streets. And you spoke about what happened at Glastonbury. The exact same chant of death to the IDF was heard on the streets of Melbourne yesterday as well. So it's rampant throughout our country. And with the Dural caravan hoax, as it was termed by the AFP, some sought to kind of brush anti-Semitism under the rug and claim that it doesn't exist. But that's not what's happening. Something despicable is happening in our society, and it's happening on a daily basis, and we have to confront it.
And just on Glastonbury, Alex, I mean, there's a festival where people are known to go along and sing the music and enjoy themselves, and now they're being indoctrinated with these, anti-Israel messages, and to have this so-called rapper up there chanting just vile anti-Semitic language like death to the IDF, it's not only hurtful, it is simply unacceptable.
I mean, it's just incredible to think that at a major public festival like that, you would have death chants, that you would have performers on stage leading thousands of people who gobbled it up and repeated the calls for death to anybody, that this would happen at a public festival. And places like Glastonbury, and it's not just Glastonbury, it happens at literary festivals, it happens at art exhibitions in Australia and around the world. They claim to be culturally safe spaces and progressive and enlightened and tolerant and peaceful to all, but it's nonsense. They are peaceful only as far as you adopt their mindset and their narrow political agenda. And anyone that's seen to be outside it can expect to receive death chants. It's a horrible thing. And until we see consequences, until donors start pulling out, governments start withdrawing funding, and a clear message is sent that if you are given a platform like this, it's a privilege and it's for a particular purpose, and that is to entertain and perform and share your talents. It's not to spew hatred, it's not to indoctrinate, and it's not to call for death for people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Alex, and thank you for your advocacy for the Jewish people. Then we've got people like Hannah Thomas, this former Greens candidate in the Prime Minister's seat of Grayndler, who was protesting a business that activists claim works on Israeli F-35 jets when they're the people running for public office. I mean, you can see why many would still have concerns about their representatives when you have someone like Hannah Thomas who's put up that photo with the bruised and bloodied eye, wanting people to feel sorry for her, but she was attending an illegal protest outside that business at Belmore.
And look, you know, again, since October 7, we've seen key political figures, the Australian Greens are the most culpable, inciting this sort of thing, supporting these protests, supporting these chants, supporting the picketing and you know, the exclusion of political officers, which endangers members of parliament and public safety as well. And it's something that, again, without consequences, it's going to keep going and going and going. Because when you're dealing with fanatics, they like attention. They like the emotional gratification of destroying things, of upsetting people, of seeing things burn. And they will go as far as they're allowed to go. And until there's serious criminal punishment for these people, things are going to get worse and worse.
Yeah. Donald Trump's posted on his Truth Social, Alex, make the deal in Gaza, get the hostages back. How are you feeling about all of this at the moment, given what's happening in Israel? I had the Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel on the program last week, and she spoke to us about what it's like in Israel at the moment, constantly running into the shelters because of the sounding of the sirens. Obviously, that ceasefire is holding at the moment. Do you think a deal will be done in Gaza?
Look, I hope so. I mean, certainly Hamas has lost all of its patrons and supporters. The Iranian regime has been severely weakened by the US and Israeli strikes. Hezbollah in the north has been decimated as well. The Assad regime to Israel's east is also no longer. So Hamas is looking very isolated and very friendless. But this is an organization that pursues death, that cares nothing for the fate of its own civilians and the people that it claims to represent and serve. And they will dig in and they will fight to the death, unfortunately. And the consequence of that will be the continued suffering of the Israeli hostages who are being held underground in the most depraved conditions, and, of course, civilian suffering for the Palestinians as well. But hopefully Donald Trump can get them there and can impose some sort of a peace, because this war has been going on for too long. And the people of Israel and the people of Gaza as well have been suffering needlessly, and it needs to end. Yeah,
well said, mate. Well said. And one last one. There's a significant case before the courts at the moment involving this, well, I describe him as a hate preacher, Wissam Haddad. I know there's probably not much you can say, but the Executive Council of Australian Jury will be in the court, no doubt, tomorrow, Alex, to find out what the judge rules.
Yeah, look, it's a big day for the community, and I think it's unfortunate that we had to bring this action. The fact that the criminal laws and the will of the political class and the police wasn't there to bring these people to justice, and that the community had to foot the bill and bring civil action under the Racial Discrimination Act to ensure some sort of consequence and some sort of redress for the Jewish community. And, you know, we eagerly await the outcome tomorrow, and we hope that it sent a warning to other hate preachers around the country that this sort of stuff is just not on.
Alex, can I say this to you, and I want to say it again to the Jewish community. I'm not Jewish, but I've been stopped by so many Jewish Australians who simply say, thank you, Mark, for standing up for us. But I want to in turn, and I've said this to them when they've stopped me on the street, I say the people you need to thank are the powerful voices within your community like Alex Ryvchin. So, Alex, keep doing what you're doing and know that plenty of people are supporting you. It might feel like a silent majority, but there are plenty of people in your corner, and we'll certainly be watching with interest this federal court case tomorrow, what the decision is that's handed down by the judge. Thanks for your time as always and for your advocacy.
So much, Mark. Thank you. You're a great man, and we really appreciate it, Mark. Thank you so much.
Good on you, mate. Alex Ryvchin, Co-Chief Executive of the Executive Council of the Australian Jury. He's a phenomenal bloke, an absolutely phenomenal bloke. And you talk about showing leadership. If only we had the same sort of leadership from our politicians in Canberra from the start of all of this. You know, Alex has been a very powerful voice since October 7 of 2023. Those members, those senior figures within the Jewish community, David Ossip from the New South Wales Jewish Board of Deputies, who I've spoken to at length, members of the Executive Council of Australian Jury, they're the ones who have been standing up for their people, their community, Jewish Australians who don't deserve to live in fear. And we can only hope that President Trump, that deal is done for some sort of ceasefire or some sort of peace in not only Gaza, but in Iran, in Israel, and in the Middle East. Watch this space. Let's hope that there will be peace eventually, instead of this bloodshed that was started by this terrorist group in Hamas. 131